It all started on a day that seemed like any other in our small village. I was training with my spear, perfecting my combat skills, when I heard the screams and the unmistakable sound of the horse hooves of King Thom's troops. Fear gripped me for a brief moment, but it was soon replaced by a determination to protect my family and my people. I ran towards the central square, where the king's soldiers were demanding exorbitant tributes. They were armed and ruthless, brutally beating those who could not pay. It was then that I saw my youngest sister, Zola, trying to hide behind a cart. My heart sank when I saw her being dragged away by a cruel soldier. "Please do not!" I shouted, but my pleas were ignored. I fought with all my might to get to her, but I was held back by other soldiers. I saw Zola brutally murdered before my eyes. My vision became blurred with tears of anger and pain. At that moment, I knew I could no longer sit idly by. Something had to be done to end Thom's tyranny. After the attack, I met with Kofi, the village elder, and Amani, my best friend and a skilled archer. We sat around a campfire, and Kofi began to speak in his calm, wisdom-filled voice. "Nia, Amani, we have been living under the yoke of Thom for too long. But I believe there is a way for us to change that," Kofi said, looking straight into my eyes. "How, Kofi? How can we face such a powerful king?" I asked, still feeling the weight of Zola's loss. "There is an ancient magical artifact, an amulet, that can give us the strength we need to overthrow Thom. However, it is hidden deep in the dark forest, a place full of unknown dangers," Kofi explained. Amani, who had been silent until then, interrupted, "If this amulet is real, we must find it. We can't keep living like this." "I'm with you, Nia." I looked at Amani and then at Kofi. I knew the journey would be dangerous, but there was no other choice. "Let's leave at dawn," I decided. The next morning we got ready for the trip. The dark forest was known for its mystical creatures and natural traps, but our determination was greater than fear. As we walked, Kofi told us old stories about the forest and the amulet. "This forest is alive, it feels our presence. We must be respectful and attentive," warned Kofi. With each step, the vegetation grew denser and the air heavier. We felt invisible eyes watching us. After hours of walking, we found a clearing. In the center, there was a stone pedestal with ancient inscriptions. "This is where the amulet should be," Kofi said, examining the pedestal. Suddenly, we were surrounded by shadow warriors, protectors of the artifact. Their leader, Django, looked at us suspiciously. "Who dares invade our sanctuary?" he asked, his voice echoing across the clearing. "We are here in search of the amulet to free our people from the tyranny of Thom," I replied, trying to remain calm. Django watched us for a moment before speaking. "To prove that they are worthy, they must go through a ritual ordeal. Only the brave and fair can wear the amulet." The ritual began, and I was made to face my greatest fears and painful memories. I relived Zola's death, but this time, I didn't succumb to the pain. I found strength in her memory and desire for justice. At the end of the ordeal, Django gave me the amulet. "You have proven yourself worthy, Nia. Use this power wisely," Django said proudly. With the amulet in hand, we returned to the village, ready to start the revolution. Every step we took was a step closer to freedom. And so, with the strength of the amulet and the determination of a people, we began to write a new chapter in our history. Traversing the dark forest was, without a doubt, one of the most challenging tasks I have ever faced. Every step was fraught with uncertainty and hidden dangers. The vegetation was dense and the sunlight could barely penetrate the tree canopy, creating a dark and mysterious atmosphere. The legends about mystical creatures and natural traps were not exaggerated. "Nia, are you sure we should continue?" Amani asked, her voice full of concern. "Yes, Amani. We need the amulet if we want to have any chance against King Phom. We can't go back now, I replied, trying to convey a confidence that I myself struggled to feel. Kofi, ever the wise one, walked ahead, leading the way with his staff and muttering ancient prayers. His presence was a comfort, a reminder that there was more at stake than just our survival, the freedom of our people. With every step, the forest seemed to test our resolve. At one point, we came across a natural trap, a treacherous swamp that almost swallowed us. It was thanks to Amani's agility and knowledge of the forest that we managed to escape unharmed. After days of walking, we finally found the tribe of shadow warriors. They appeared out of nowhere, as if they were part of the darkness of the forest itself. They surrounded them with their spears and arrows pointed, their eyes glowing with frightening intensity. "Who are you and what are you looking for in the dark forest?" asked their leader, Django, in a deep and authoritative voice. "We came in search of the amulet. We need him to free our people from the tyranny of King Phom," I replied, trying to demonstrate the same firmness in my voice. Django studied us for a moment before responding. "Many have already come in search of the amulet, but few have left alive. To prove themselves worthy, they must face our trials." The fight that followed was intense. The shadow warriors were skilled and ruthless, but our determination was greater. Amidst the chaos, I managed to stand out, demonstrating skills that I didn't even know I had. When the dust finally settled, Django approached, his gaze now full of respect. "You are really brave, Nia. To obtain the amulet, you must go through the ordeal ritual," he said, pointing to a dark cave. The ritual was a terrifying experience. The cave seemed alive, pulsing with an ancient and powerful energy. Inside, I was confronted by visions of my greatest fears: Zola's death, the possibility of failing my people, eternal loneliness. Each vision tore me up inside, but I knew I needed to be strong. "You can't beat me, Nia. I am the fear inside you," murmured one of the visions, in Phom's voice. "No, you are wrong. I am stronger than my fears," I replied, feeling a new strength growing within me. When I finally emerged from the cave, I felt exhausted, but also more determined than ever. Django was waiting for me outside, holding the amulet. "You have proven yourself worthy, Nia. This amulet is now yours," he said, handing me the artifact. With the amulet in hand, I felt a new energy coursing through my body. I knew we were ready to face King Phom. Upon returning to the village, Kofi, Amani, and I were greeted with renewed hope. The people, upon seeing the amulet, felt a new flame of courage light up in their hearts. "We are ready to fight," shouted one of the villagers, and his voice was followed by many others. As we organized the resistance and trained the inhabitants, I knew the journey was far from over. But, with the amulet and determination of our people, I felt that freedom was within our reach. And so, the revolution began to take shape. With the amulet in my possession, I felt a wave of power and responsibility wash over me. Our village, which was once plunged into despair, now had new hope shining. "People of Umoja," I said, gathering everyone into the central square. "We can no longer live under the yoke of Phom. The time has come to fight for our freedom." Kofi, the wise elder, stood beside me, his serene presence conveying confidence. "Nia's right," he said in his deep, thoughtful voice. "Together, we are stronger than any army Phom could send against us." Amani, my best friend and a skilled archer, added, "We need to train and prepare. Each of you has a skill that can be useful in battle. Let's turn our pain into strength." The days that followed were intense. I organized training groups, delegating tasks to each inhabitant of the village. Amani taught the young men to wield bows and arrows with deadly precision, while Kofi shared ancient war tactics. I, in turn, trained the warriors in the art of hand-to-hand combat, using the strength and agility that the amulet granted me. During one night's vigil, as we tended the fire, Amani approached me. "Nia, do you think we are ready?" she asked, her eyes reflecting the flickering flame. "We're more ready than we've ever been," I replied, trying to hide my own doubts. "But we need to remain focused. Mfam will not give in easily." News of our resistance soon spread, and neighboring villages began sending reinforcements. Men and women of all ages arrived, determined to join our cause. I welcomed them with open arms, feeling the responsibility growing even more on my shoulders. "Each of you is a crucial piece in this fight," I said. "Together, we are unstoppable." The first major battle was not long in coming. We decided to attack the gates of the main city, a strategic point that, if conquered, would significantly weaken Mfam's army. The day before the attack, I gathered all the leaders together. "Tomorrow, we will attack with everything we have," I began. "Remember what we are fighting for: our families, our freedom, our future." Kofi looked at me approvingly. "You lead wisely, Nia. We are ready." The night passed in a blur of preparations and silent prayers. The next morning we set out before dawn, using the darkness for cover. When we arrived at the city gates, the sun was beginning to rise, bathing everything in a blood-red light. "For Umoja!" I shouted, and we advanced. The combat was fierce. Mfam's troops were well armed and organized, but our determination was greater. Amid the chaos, I saw Amani fighting bravely, her arrows finding their targets with deadly precision. However, in a moment of distraction, she was seriously injured. "Amani!" I ran to her, my heart sinking. "Don't worry about me," she said through clenched teeth. "Fight. For all of us." Your courage gave me renewed strength. With the amulet shining on my chest, I faced the commander of the enemy troops. He was a formidable opponent, but the anger and determination within me was even greater. With one decisive blow, I defeated him, marking our first major victory. Celebratory shouts echoed through the gates. "We won!" I said, exhausted but elated. "This is just the first of many battles. We must keep fighting." As we treated the wounded and reinforced our ranks, I felt a wave of hope sweep through the village. The revolution had begun, and we were not going to stop until Mfam was overthrown. I looked at Amani, now being tended to by the healers. "We're going to beat this, for Zola, for all of us." She smiled, her strength unwavering. "Yes, Nia. We will win." And so, with our hearts inflamed with hope and determination, we prepared for the final battle that would decide the fate of our people. The siege of King Mfam's palace was the most difficult and decisive stage of our revolution. From the beginning, I felt a huge weight on my shoulders, knowing that the fate of all our efforts depended on what would happen there. The battle began at the break of dawn, when our forces, made up of villagers and allies from neighboring villages, surrounded the imposing and oppressive palace. "Remember what we are fighting for. For our families, for our freedom," I shouted, trying to instill courage in every heart present. Kofi, with his wisdom and experience, was at my side, coordinating the tactics. Amani, now recovered, was on the front lines, ready to use her archery skills to clear the way for our troops. His determined look and confident posture were an inspiration to us all. "Come on, Nia. We cannot fail now," Amani said, as she adjusted her quiver. "Our brothers and sisters depend on us." With a nod of my head, I gave the signal to advance. Our archers, led by Amani, released the first hail of arrows, clearing the way for the warriors carrying makeshift battering rams. The palace doors, although sturdy, began to give way under our relentless assault. When we finally broke through the entrance, a sea of enemy soldiers awaited us. The battle that followed was intense and brutal. Every step towards the throne was conquered with blood and sweat. Kofi, despite his age, fought with the dexterity of a young warrior, and I couldn't help but admire his strength and determination. "Careful, Nia!" Kofi shouted, deflecting a blow that almost hit me. "Thank you, Kofi. Let's move on," I replied, quickly recovering. The fight seemed endless, but our determination was unshakable. Finally, we managed to reach the throne hall. There, Phom was waiting for us, surrounded by his most loyal guards. The tyrant's cold, calculating gaze reminded me of all the atrocities he had committed against our people. Anger and justice burned in my heart. "You've come too far, Nia." "But that ends here," Phom declared, his voice echoing off the walls of the hall. "No, Phom. This is where your tyranny ends," I replied, advancing with my sword drawn. The final battle was an epic showdown. Phom revealed an artifact similar to my amulet, amplifying his strength and making him an even more formidable opponent. Each blow exchanged was charged with energy and fury, and each movement carried the weight of the fate of an entire nation. "You think you can beat me, girl? I am the king!" Phom roared, charging forward with a fierce attack. "You may be a king, but I am the spirit of all those you oppressed," I replied, using all the strength of the amulet to counterattack. The fight seemed to last forever, but with the help of Kofi and Amani, I finally managed to subdue Phom. In a moment of pure courage and determination, I managed to disarm him and bring him to his knees. "It's the end, Phom. Your era of terror is over," I declared, sword pointed at his chest. Kofi and Amani approached, their looks filled with relief and satisfaction. The battle had been won, but we knew that the true journey to freedom was just beginning. "Nia, you did it. We are free," Amani said, her voice cracking with emotion. "Yes, Amani. But we still have a lot to do. Let's make sure everyone's sacrifice wasn't in vain," I responded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and hope. Capturing Phom was a milestone, but I soon realized that the fight for freedom and justice was just beginning. As we prepared for the next steps, I knew we needed to remain united and vigilant, ready for any challenge that might arise. It was just the beginning of a new era for our people. When we finally managed to capture Phom and took him into custody, the sense of relief and victory was palpable. The gentle morning breeze seemed to carry with it a new sense of hope and freedom. We were exhausted, but joy kept us going. However, the real twist was yet to come, one that no one could have predicted. Preparations for the coronation were underway, and I found myself in a makeshift tent, surrounded by my allies and advisors. Amani, still recovering from her injuries, was at my side as Kofi went over the ceremonial details. It was then that Amani, with a suspicious look, approached me. "Nia, there's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice low but full of urgency. "Yes, Amani? What happened?" I asked, worried. From the beginning, I always felt there was more to Kofi's story than he told us. I did some digging and discovered something disturbing. He's not just a wise, old man. He's Phom's father. My mind spun with the information. "What do you mean?" "That can't be true. Think, Nia. He always knew too much, always had a plan. And have you ever wondered why he knew so much about the amulet and the dark forest?" Amani insisted. Before I could respond, Kofi entered the tent, his expression calm as always. "Nia, we need to talk about the coronation. There's something you need to know." "Yes, Kofi, we also have something to discuss," I replied, trying to remain calm. "Come on, sit down," he began, but before he could continue, Amani intervened. "No, Kofi. The truth must be told now. Speak, or I will." Kofi sighed deeply, his aged gaze fixed on me. very well. The truth is that yes, I am Fam's father. I was exiled years ago for trying to usurp the throne, but not for power, but to save our people from your imminent tyranny. So this whole revolution, was it for revenge? I asked, betrayal burning in my chest. No, Nia. It was to right a wrong. I knew you had the strength and courage to lead this revolution. I needed you to take him down. At that moment, everything made sense. Kofi had used us from the beginning, manipulating our feelings and our pain to achieve his own goals. My anger grew, but so did the clarity that I could not allow him to take over everything we fought for. You betrayed us, Kofi. You used our pain and our hope for your own ends, I accused, my voice firm. Kofi tried to get closer, but Amani, always agile, positioned herself between us. Don't take another step, Kofi. We've done enough for you. He laughed, a bitter, tired sound. Do you think you can stop me? I am the true heir to this throne. It was then that he tried to take the amulet away from me. An evil gleam in his eyes, a desperate lust for power. The fight that followed was intense, but short. Amani, with her skill and precision, managed to disarm him, while I, with the strength of the amulet and our people, took him down. Kofi, you are exiled. You will never set foot on this earth again, I declared, my voice firm but full of sadness. He was taken away, and the silence that followed was heavy. I looked at Amani, who smiled sadly. You did the right thing, Nia. Now, it's time to lead our people to a better future. The coronation took place shortly after, and as I looked at the horizon, I felt responsibility and hope weigh equally on my shoulders. There was much to be done, but I knew that, with justice and wisdom, we could build a future of freedom and prosperity. And so begins a new era, I murmured to myself, as the people applauded. The journey was arduous, but the victory was eternal.